Hello everyone, and welcome to this new session on the launchpy. And we will go back to where we were before. So, as you remember, um, or you need to remember at least, I started my notebook, and we have done some things on the previous video, and things being importing the configuration and seeing that we can access this configuration. We can retrieve a token if we want, and I expose the config header, and then we retrieve the properties by passing the company ID that we have retrieved here, and it gives you the properties. We've seen how in Python we can do comprehensive list, and from that derived the correct property that we want to use in our with our launchpy extension, and we have actually connected this property in our launchpy application. So how we have done that is by creating an instance of a class. Um, and you can see here, like LP is launchpy that I have defined at the very top. I import launchpy as LP. And I then access the class property, and I passing this argument, which is my um, property configuration. I pass that, and this gives me this instance of a class. And this instance of a class can check that you are using the correct property either by ID or by the name. You can see that I'm actually in Data Analyst. And from that property now, we will actually move forward and see what we can do within one property. And this is the main idea that we will follow now. I would like to clean up a bit the code. So you can see that I have now a top setup. So if I click here, I can directly go there. And if I want to do that, I will actually split the different elements so we can directly refer to those chapters together. So the configuration will be here. So it will be in the top setup things. And here, let's call this the new, like by selecting with the blue. So selecting the cell, but not inside the cell, and typing M for Markdown. Then we can say this is now my company ID selection. Hop, so now we have this. We can directly derive from there. And here, we can do the same here and say property selection. Hop. And here, now that I have done the property selection, I can say this is now Data Analyst property. Hop, and with the hashtag. Okay, we are now there. And we know that for accessing or using the instance of the class, we need to actually reuse that name. So we will do that. And as usual, and this is why I like very much Jupyter Notebooks, it's really helpful for you to find out that you do the dot and then you press tab and it gives you everything that is available. And right now, I want to focus really on the get different elements, because this is the most useful thing on, I don't know if it's the most useful thing, but it's the thing that you will do most often, at least um, during using the launchpy. And you can see that we have several get elements: get data elements, get environment, get extension, get host, and so forth and so forth. So I will demo some of them, and from there we will derive some use case, very simple use case, and hopefully you find that useful. So the first thing I want to know is the extension. So I will get my extension. So always auto completion. I'm starting to get the get something, and then I tap tabs, and this is giving me all the automatically the available method. So I'm going to do that. So it will run, and we can actually have a look of how many, so length function, how many of them I retrieved. So there is 5. So I actually have my launch elements here. So I can actually check if I'm actually doing correct things. This is the moment where I stress if it's not working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So actually I see that there are those 5 extensions available. One thing that you need to know in Launch, and actually it will be a bit of a tutorial for Launch, is that you can upload or update an extension, but you can never go back in time and using an old extension. So once a new extension, a new upgrade is capable, is possible, you have this possibility of having an upgrade. That is very important because if you want to clone some property, you will need to have the latest available extension, because cloning this Adobe Target extension will not give you a successful response, because they will try to copy an old version of Target, and in the new property they will tell you, sorry man or girl, you cannot do that because this old property has been deleted, or this old extension, sorry, have been deleted and it's not on the library anymore. You need to actually try to install the new one. So you need to have this in mind when you're doing this kind of copy paste, especially using launchpy. I don't know exactly how it's being handled automatically in the, I believe they are actually updating automatically to the latest version, because there is a backward compatibility between versions, so it should not cause any issue on that point, even if the extension could behave differently, but the configuration is backward compatible. That being said, I wanted to show you this. We can actually do PropData Analyst, and I say I want to check for extension update. And I will check, so again, to show you that this is very helpful, I will check with the Shift tab the different element that I need to do in order to check. And you can see that the platform, I need to set up the platform, and by default it's web, so it's fine, but there is a possibility that you have a mobile element. And let me make it a bit bigger. And actually, the verbose, if you want to set it true, it will send the ID and the extension check. Some dictionary example of how it will look like, and it will give you the ID and the update is required or not. And actually, let's do this and see what it tells me. I could have saved that in the dimension, but in my case, I don't want to do it. So actually, I will just yeah, print out the result in the Jupyter, and you can see that in the Adobe MC which is using this package ID, is actually doesn't require an update, not Target require an update, and Adobe Analytics require an update. Let's say Adobe Analytics and Adobe Target require an upgrade, or update or upgrade. So this is a very good use case for you to find out if you need to have an upgrade on your property. So first use case that we are actually seeing. So let's now try to get the rules. And I think now you will start to realize that all of the API that I'm actually building are having the same logic. Then words may differ because sometimes you're not exactly doing the exact same thing, but you get the get. You want to have the rule, and so you get rules. This is pretty basic. So now I'm getting the rules, and this is where it starts to get interesting. So you get the length of the rule, and there is 4 rules. Actually, I'm quite surprised, but it can be true because this is my life. And you see that I have the all Windows loaded SB, the contact form, the contact page, and the header top target rules. So I have only four rules, and actually I could check on the rules. Let's take the first one because it returns me a list most probably. And you can see that I have the different definition of what is actually in the rule. But in the rule itself, you see nothing that is variable of what is in the rule. This is different. What's in the rules is a rule component. We already discussed that, and we'll get to that at the next point. But just again, you want to know which rule, how many rules you have per property, and you have multiple property. This is a use case again. And you can even check directly the different name that you have, and we already have seen that. But let's say we want to use a comprehensive list, and now because you watched the previous video, you know how we build a comprehensive list. So now I'm using the elements as an alias, what I want to do. So normally I always retrieve a list with S, and then I can iterate around that list with the same word without S. So I can say rules, a rule for rule. So for each element, so I want the rule for each element in rules. Okay, maybe a bit confusing, but you'll get used to it. And then I don't want to retrieve, so this will give me everything. So it's actually not very helpful to do this kind of comprehensive list. But what I want to do is having these attributes. And from these attributes, I want to have the name. And you can see that I'm going to go there, attributes. So for each of the elements, so rule 0, rules 1, rules 2, and rules 3. I will go there and I will look at the attribute and the name, and actually it will display all of the name, and you see that all of the names. So you can have the list. Right now I can already copy that and say, okay, for me it doesn't really make sense because I have only 4 rules, but I can save that in my list of the rules, list rule names, and I can say with open to open the file, rule names.txt, and I want to write on that file. So write is W. If you want to read, you want to use R, use R, and if you want to append element, you use A. But I want to write because I want to even create that file. And with open, so I'm creating this file, and I will give him an alias as F. And what do I want to do with F, which is the file that I have to open? I want to write the rule name. And you're like, okay, Julian, where is your rule names coming from? To give you the idea that I want to have the rule name all the time. So I need to iterate through that list of rule name that I have defined here and say, okay, for rule name, no, actually for rule, yeah, rule name actually up in list rule name. So for the confusion, then I want to write, I've write rule names. So let's check this. Executed 5 milliseconds, and I'm going here, and you see that I have this text file. The problem with this text file is that, yeah, it's not really readable. It's reading everything. So what I want to do, and it's a best practice, is that, okay, I want to have this rule name, but I want to have them separate, like 1 line per rule name. And to do that, you can use the f string. So if you are not familiar with that, it's the capability of doing a string, like rule name is now a string, but instead I'll put that into curly bracket, and the string will be dynamically fed by the new elements. And you say, okay, Julian, this doesn't bring me anywhere because it's exactly doing the same thing than before. So what you are going to do is that, okay, I want to feed in the string the rule name as before, and at the end, automatically add return line elements. And if I'm doing that now, and I'm opening my rule name file, you can see that now all the rule names have been displayed in each of the lines. So second use case is quite useful, and this will get even better. So now, as I was saying, these rules are useful because you can get everything that has been created on your property. But it will be even better if we get the elements inside the rule. So if I'm going into my all windows loaded. I probably have a set Adobe variable there. And I have most probably an event. I have to have an event, and I may have a condition. So yeah, you see the event, you see the different action that I'm realizing and so on. So in order to do that, I'm going to get the rule component, and you get the idea. And even I will give you my own naming convention, RCS for rule components with the S, because it's going to give me multiple rule components. And I would say, what was it? Prop data analyst, yeah. Prop data analyst, get rule component. And here you see RCS length, and it will be a bit more than what it used to be. So my way of working with the rule component, because rule components are much larger elements, so you can be a condition, it could be an action, it could be an event, is to split them up, basically. And to do that, you can look at the first one, for example, and you will see in the attribute that they have a delegate descriptors ID. And you can see core action custom code. And how is this split? Is that this is the extension using, this is the part of the element that is being used, so this is an action, and this is the type of action it is. So you could do is saying RCS, so let's say RCS action, RCS condition, and RCS events. Actually, it should have been quite the opposite, but yeah, to follow this way, so event, condition, action. And this is just a comprehensive list. So in 3 lines, we will actually split all of the rule component and be able to completely analyze them. And you can see here already that we could extract the code and do checking on the code directly from there. So imagine you have hundreds. I'm working with clients with thousands of rules. So you can imagine it's, yeah, a lot of rule components that can exist. It's quite useful to be able to do that. And we'll see that right now is to directly go to that, sorry, that list comprehension and say RC for RC in RCS. So this will be common for everything. So I'll do the same here. I will do the same here. So you get already the idea of now we are getting everything, but this will give me everything and I want only when it is an action. So you need to have a condition and you say when if RC, so if when I'm looping around for RC in RC, if this rule component, so RC is rule component, RCS is rule components with multiple in the list, if attributes attributes, it was they get descriptor ID. And can we do a contains up? And this is action. And you can try to do that action with S. And this will most probably be conditions. And I hope it will be with the F, with the S, and with this will be events. Let's check out and see if this is possible. There is another way to do it. There is no contents, and this is what I was afraid of because I'm working too much with regular expression. And you could do a regular expression, that's all right, but even simpler, you can do that. You can say, I want to see if this string is in another string. Up. So obviously I need to hop and remove the contains, and here remove the and that part. Okay, let's have a look. Action here, you see it's a core action. The second one of that element, so the first in the array, is also an action, and you see it's Adobe Analytics set variables. Okay, you get to know it. Let's check now for condition, because actually I'm not sure if that was having a S or not. Let's check if there is any condition. Yeah, there is a condition because there is at least one. And it was with the S. Let's check the same with even. So I'm starting to feel confident about this. And yes, the events, your core windows loaded, and you see all of this. Okay. What's now interesting is to get the settings. And for that, launchpy has already a capability that we have the possibility to use. And this is launchpy. So you need to use our launchpy extract. Oh, sorry. Extract settings. And you see here, what do I have? I put the element itself, and I can save that. And let's, at the moment, just use an element. So it has to be an element. It's not a list of elements. So you can see action 0. So let's call it action 0. And now let's look at the action 0. And you can see this is the code directly of my action, my first action. And you see everything that I have actually code in JavaScript. So from there, we will stop now, and I will continue on the next video. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video.